Hello everybody and welcome back to the Ultimate Fashion History for an episode of What We're Into. Well, I am beside myself with excitement in this month's What We're Into here on the Ultimate Fashion History because I'm into so much stuff. We'd better get started. The first thing that I'm into is Christmas. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, at least in our house, because the other day we put the Christmas tree up. There it is. I have schlepped this tree all over the world, and every year I add more ornaments. It is rather laden. Here's a little gif I made so you can see how laden and over the top and ridiculous it is. I call it the Liberace of Christmas trees. My teenage stepson is appalled, embarrassed, and deeply ashamed. And quite rightly. You know, when it comes to Christmas trees, I think they should either be completely over the top and Liberace-esque, or terribly sparse and chic, although I do like a traditional tree as well. Here's one that I put together about 3 years ago, my most traditional Christmas tree concept ever. And I went traditional, let me just share this with you, because I had a highly themed Christmas party. Here's the invitation. Home front for the holidays, a good old-fashioned 1940s Christmas celebration in the heart of small-town America. 6 p.m. till past the blackout. I wept uncontrollably throughout the party prep and the party itself. You know how sentimental I get about World War II. Oh, and look at Django down there in the bottom right-hand corner. It was highly themed. Here are the cupcakes, and the cupcake toppers were Christmas propaganda, war bond posters, and little victory badges. I am totally insane, aren't I? But I love a theme. You dream it, I'll theme it. What else are we into? I'm so into this new exhibition that just opened at Christie's Auction House in London. Basically, it's a collaboration between Christie's and Dolce Gabbana. What's happened is this. Dolce & Gabbana have brought in pieces from their various collections that were inspired by art movements and paintings. I think this is a fantastic idea. I think it breathes new life into old masters, and it also helps contextualize fashion. What else are we into? I am really into Santa Monica. Earlier this month, I was summoned to Los Angeles on some fashion history business, actually. And although I've been to LA a number of times, I don't think I've ever been to Santa Monica, but that's where I was staying. And oh, it was so gorgeous. And what I particularly loved was all of the Art Deco architecture. It was gorgeous. It was everywhere. Look at these buildings. Some were Art Nouveau. Isn't that fantastic? Look at the scalloped feature here on the portico on this 1930s deco apartment building. I absolutely loved it. And while I was in Los Angeles on fashion history business, I had the great privilege of seeing this. Those of you in the UFH Facebook group have already heard all about this, but for those of you who haven't, I saw and got up close and personal with Joan Crawford's dress dummy from Mildred Pierce. Her Oscar-winning performance, of course. There it is. And here is a close-up, and you can see Joan Crawford is written across the front. I am not sure if this is her signature, if she signed it herself. It looks a bit like her signature. But what I found really fascinating about this is that her nipples were sewn onto the dress dummy, the correct placement of her actual nipples, so that the designer, Milo Anderson in this case, could ensure that her nipples did not show through fabric. I felt so privileged to be up close and personal with something so historic, and you all know how I feel about Joan Crawford, so that was really cool and really fun, and I'm really excited to share it with you. What else are we into? Well, I'm really into the work of this new British Nigerian, artist called Emmanuel Unagi. And there he is. And what he does, he sort of blurs the line between fine art and fashion illustration. I always think that fashion illustration is fine art, of course I do, but I really like this guy's work. I just discovered him on the internet a couple of days ago, and I think this is a really interesting way to reimagine fashion illustration, and I also love how he uses that whole absence of presence thing, a bit like Rauschenberg. Anyway, I don't know, tell me what you think. I really think he's got the stuff. What's next? What else are we into? Well, I was really into this new documentary that I saw on HBO, and I'm sure that lots of you have seen it too. It was called Very Ralph, and was basically all about Ralph Lauren. It followed him from being a little boy from not a very prosperous home, but a home with a lot of love in it nevertheless, through to his marriage to Ricky, his muse. When they married in 1964, he was broke, she was broke, and yet they wanted to have a lifestyle, and they managed to do so on no money. For example, one of the things that stuck with me from the documentary is that they wanted to have wood panels on the walls of their little apartment. They couldn't afford it, and so Ralph's dad, who was a bit of an artist, painted wood on the walls of their apartment. Everything that I thought I knew about Ralph Lauren was completely dispelled. He certainly doesn't see himself as a fashion designer. He was somebody who created a lifestyle, and this lifestyle he created became the epitome of preppy America, even though Ralph himself was far from a prep, at least not at the beginning. Watch it, I absolutely loved it. It was so inspirational, and I always love learning about people who created themselves. What else are we into? Well, the next couple of things are actually related, and put together they bring me to one of my new theories that I've just come up with. You know how much I love my theories, but I am dying to hear your thoughts on my new theory. Okay, do you know the show The Masked Singer? Last month, Annabelle featured it in her segment of What We're Into. Anyway, it's this rather preposterous show. It's totally demented, but sort of fun, where B-list celebrities disguise themselves with outrageous masks and costumes, sing in front of a panel who have to guess the identity of the celebrity. Anyway, those of you who watch it will love what I'm about to show you. And those of you who haven't seen it, you'll get the gist. Annabelle, who loves this show so much, created her own version of The Masked Singer with her dolls and her stuffies, creating these masks and characters for all of her toys. And there she is, and Hunter, her favourite doll, who she's holding there, he was the host. She created all of the different characters. There was the fish, the otter, the penguin, the princess, and her dad and I had to go through all of the rounds and guess which toy it was. It was challenging because we couldn't actually remember the names of most of her dolls, but I thought it was so creative and fun. But it brings me to the next thing that I'm into. This guy, he's a Canadian country and western singer called Orville Peck, and he only ever performs wearing these very strange masks. So nobody knows what he really looks like. His music is sort of eerie and dark, but still in the country mode. And this brings me to my theory. The Masked Singer, Orville Peck. I have seen a lot of masks on the runway lately, at least I think I have. And let me ask you this. Over the past 15 years, because of social media, because of Instagram, because of bloggers, because of YouTubers, and yeah, I can talk, there's this idea that everybody can and should be known. They should be known. Do you think that all of this is sort of a backlash to that? Are we going into a phase where anonymity is considered cool? Is anonymity the new fame? I don't know. I just think there has to be a connection. There has to be a reason for all of this, right? Tell me what you think. I really am interested in hearing. What else are we into? I am so into the leather goods company Smithson of Bond Street, London. They've been around since the 1880s and produce the most beautiful wallets and keychains and credit card holders and agendas and diaries and all of that good stuff. So although on the one hand they're very traditional, they're also really fun and creative. Look at this hand-painted flamingo on a 2020 diary. Last year, my husband bought me a Smithson wallet as a present, and you all know I don't take good care of my things. That's really wrong. I should take better care of my things. Anyway, I don't. And let me tell you, no matter how much I've thrown this wallet around, it looks like it's just come out of one of Smithson's beautiful blue boxes. And I just got this as one of my early Christmas presents because you do need a diary for the following year by the time you get to November and start putting all of your new January and February dates in, right? This lovely bright yellow leather agenda. And the paper quality is gorgeous. This thin, beautiful light blue paper. And look, every page has a page for notes. And look, November's what we're into. That's the list of what I'm talking to you about right now. This is so meta. Now, when you go onto their website, you might balk initially at some of their prices. And yet, they have beautiful stationery like these little gift cards. $15. $15 only. And what's so great about Smithson and why I'm recommending it as a Christmas gift idea for your loved ones is that absolutely everything is shipped in these beautiful blue boxes with midnight blue ribbons. And by the way, they have a store in New York, I think. At least they have an online presence in the States, so you don't have to pay international shipping. And what I love also about the packaging is that these ribbons can be used as hair ribbons. That's what I'm doing anyway. That is a hair ribbon that I have taken from my Smithson box, and it segues me so perfectly into the next thing that I'm into. I am utterly obsessed with this hairdo. Half up with a black bow, like Catherine Deneuve here on the left and Brigitte Bardot on the right. I am obsessed with this hairdo right now. I have no idea why, but I do my hair like this every single day, and I have just realized it probably wasn't the best idea to put a picture of me in between two of the world's greatest beauties. Anyway, love this hairdo, think it's very French and rather yeah girls. And yes, there's an Ultimate Fashion History episode on the yeah girls, in case you want to check it out. What else are we into? Well, I don't talk about contemporary politics here on the UFH. It's not what the channel's about. It's not what the group's about. However, the following thing did tickle me. Last week, President Trump gave a speech, and his notes that he's holding here were photographed. A challenge went out on Twitter to record his notes in the style of Morrissey or in the style of the Ramones, and a lot of very talented musicians rose to the challenge, and the end results are hilarious. I love musical parodies, I really do, and I also love the Ramones and I love Morrissey. In fact, there's an Ultimate Fashion History episode on my old friend. What else are we into? Well, I am utterly obsessed with this YouTuber, Instagrammer and blogger. I'm sure a lot of you out there are fans of hers as well. She's called Laura Jane, and her blog and her channel and her Instagram are called Laura Jane Atelier. It is fantastic, the work that she does. It is all about vintage beauty and fashion and how to apply it to our worlds today. For example, Grace Kelly inspired capsule wardrobe, and I love this series. beauty products used by some of Hollywood's legends or even history's legends that are still available today. She is an artist, Laura Jane. Everything is beautifully photographed, and her way of communicating fashion history is really on my wavelength. I'm a huge fan. If you don't know her work, head over. I think you will love it. She is such a delight, so lovely to listen to, and I'm so happy that she's enjoying the success that she is, because she absolutely deserves it. And what else are we into? Well, let's move from the ladies to a bit of menswear. I haven't forgotten my boys out there. Well, I do declare I am into Ben Silver, the menswear tailors in Charleston. They do women's wear as well, but they're predominantly known for menswear, and I am currently in love with seersucker in all of these wonderful colours. This is all Ben Silver. They do regatta striped blazers, wonderfully coloured gingham. Look at these ties. Look at these sweaters. I love it. This is classic Southern style. They also do these beautiful enamel buttons. And who doesn't want a regatta striped boating blazer with an enamel cat button? I love Ben Silver. I've been trying to interest Rupert, my husband, in Ben Silver, but he's having none of it. He's having none of it. What else are we into? Well, we really enjoyed the movie Jojo Rabbit, the anti-hate satire, which is about a little boy living in the last few months of World War II, who is a member of the Nazi Youth Party and has an imaginary friend. Adolf Hitler is his imaginary friend, yes. All of this sounds very distasteful on paper, admittedly, but it is a satire and it was very moving and very touching. So basically it's about a 10-year-old boy who is fanatical about the Nazi Party, and then he learns that his mother, played by Scarlett Johansson, is hiding a Jewish girl in her attic. It is so imaginative and funny and sweet, and yes, we cried a lot, and the costumes were great. Very, very stylish. Look at that cardigan. All of the performances were wonderful, although I have to admit that Sam Rockwell rather stole the show as a flamboyant German officer with a penchant for rather eccentric fashion design. What else are we into? I'm really into playing card games this month. Annabelle got me into playing cards by teaching me a game called golf, which I didn't know. Sitting down and playing a card game can transport you, I have found, into a 1930s drawing room, very elegant and Agatha Christie. Alternatively, a game of poker, it's pure film noir, or you can even get a sense of James Bond if you sit down with cards and poker chips. My favourite mode of card playing is, of course, the 1930s Agatha Christie drawing room, but I would need a card table, finger sandwiches, sherry, one of those old-fashioned score pads, those little tiny pencils that go with it. Everybody would have to wear evening gowns. Only then could I play cards in the mode that I would like. And also I can only find a 9-year-old girl who's willing to play cards with me at the moment. Just as well, I'm into other things, like I'm really into seeing a new exhibition that's just been announced to take place next year at the Walt Disney Family Museum in San Francisco. It's on Walt Disney during World War II. This is the second time I've mentioned World War II in this episode, isn't it? Disney were massive propagandists during World War II. In fact, Walt Disney was employed by Roosevelt to produce propagandist movies for morale and education, like The Führer's Face, and here is a still of Donald Duck reading Mein Kampf. And here's the whole Disney crew having a good old victory march. There were Walt Disney war bonds, and of course, Roosevelt asked Walt and his crew to go to South America as part of the Good Neighbor policy, and he produced Saludos Amigos and the Three Caballeros. And all of this is talked about in the excellent documentary Walt and El Grupo, which, oh, I loved that movie. Did any of you see it? It came out maybe 5 years ago, and it tells the tale of Walt Disney and his team in South America as part of the Good Neighbor policy. Alternatively, if you don't want to watch that, you can watch this, Fashion and the Good Neighbor policy, here on the Ultimate Fashion History, where I do talk about Walt in South America during World War II. Anyway, I am definitely going to get myself to San Francisco to see that one. And the next thing I'm into, I'm also sticking with Disney. I have just seen the trailer for The Jungle Cruise, the new Disney movie that's coming out next year, starring Dwayne Johnson, and I really think that Dwayne Johnson is the closest we have today to an old-fashioned golden age of Hollywood movie star. I really do. I absolutely love him. And judging by the trailer, this is going to be a whole lot of fun. Of course, it's based on the Disneyland Disney World ride, The Jungle Cruise, which is one of my favorite Disney rides. It'll also star Emily Blunt, and it's set in the 1910s. And from the trailer, it looks like the costumes are spot on and great. I'm so looking forward to seeing this. Well, this came up on my news feed, and it may have come up on some of yours as well, and I found this so interesting and so touching. An Eastern European photographer called Jan Langer collected a group of people, all of whom were over 100 years old, and what he did, he photographed them and then displayed the photographs that he had taken next to photographs of the person when they were young. It was an extraordinary thing to do, and it interested me because you can actually really see how the aging process works. But I just found it incredibly touching and incredibly beautiful. And what struck me is that people really do look the same, don't they? Just older versions. Now from the very old to the very young. It's time for What Annabelle's Into, but here's the thing. She put her PowerPoint slides together, she narrated it beautifully, and guess what? Her voice didn't record. So, just as Joan Crawford stood in for Christina on that soap opera, I am going to tell you what Annabelle's into. And then I'll be back with the food of the month, the cocktail of the month, the designer of the month, and the word of the month. Yes, that's a new one. Hello to Annabelle's fellow humans, as she always says. The first thing that she's into this month is Harry Potter. And this has been a real learning curve for me because, don't kill me, but I was never a Harry Potter person. I'm a muggle, is that right? Anyway, Annabelle is so into Harry Potter that I am learning a lot about that little wizard. We're watching all the movies and her dad reads her aloud from the books every night, but she's also reading them herself. And these are the first sort of big, more grown-up books she's ever read, and so we're really proud of her. And there she is with her Harry Potter scarf from his house, from the school, Hogwarts. I'm a muggle. And the night bus piggy bank that I bought her in Los Angeles, and there is a close-up of the Gryffindor badge. She also loves the Harry Potter memes. It's called Harry Potter Crack. She loves Bob Ross. She is all about Bob Ross this month. And there she is with her Happy Little Trees t-shirt. And you see those Christmas cookies she's holding? She's into making Christmas cookies. She made these all by herself from start to finish, and that's how she decorated them. I think they are exceedingly professional. She's also into her travels. Next month, she is heading off to England, and she'll be staying with her grandparents in Salisbury. She's going there with her mum for a little pre-Christmas vacation, and then she's heading to the USA for Christmas in Palm Springs with my dad and stepdad. It's the first time I will have travelled with the kids, and so I'm looking forward to that. All of us sharing a room together. That's going to be great fun. Annabelle really wanted me to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. She said it about 99 times in her version. I can't live up to her, but I hope I've done her justice in this section of What Annabelle's Into. The food of the month, of course, a turkey dinner. And I'm not just saying that because it's Thanksgiving. I'm saying that because last Sunday I cooked my very first turkey. I'm 54 years old. I have never cooked a turkey before. I never had to. I just go to Dad's. Couldn't do that this year, so I cooked an early Thanksgiving turkey dinner and it turned out okay. As I was making this dinner, this isn't my dinner, by the way. I can never get food to look as nice as that. I kept thinking of that line from Cole Porter's You're the Top. You're sublime, you're a turkey dinner. But I also thought about the song Turkey Lurkey Time from the Burt Bacharach and Hal David musical Promises, Promises. That song stuck in my head. Had to listen to the original Broadway cast recording, and you know what? It stands up. The cocktail of the month? The Snowball. Now, I've never come across a Snowball in North America, but presumably they exist here as well as Europe. Basically, it's a cocktail made of this stuff called Advocaat. It's sort of creamy and eggy, and you basically mix that with 7-Up and limes, and you end up with a gorgeous drink. If you want the full recipe, you can find it in my book, Vintage Cocktails, Retro Recipes for the Home Mixologist by Amanda Hallay, with illustrations by David Wolfe. Did you know I had a cocktail book out there? I wrote it about 7 years ago. It's published by Skyhorse Publishing. It was actually reissued. Vintage Cocktails is the hardback version, and then there is, I think, a slightly chicer cover on the paperback that was renamed Classic Cocktails, Time-Honored Recipes for the Home Bartender. Anyway, I do recommend that you buy these books as presents for your loved one. They're really kind of comedy books. And the word of the month, this is a new feature, is sartoria. This doesn't actually exist as a real word in the English language, but I came across it the other day and have already overused it. Sartoria. And the designer of the month? Emilio Pucci is the designer of the month. Pucci was a November baby, and we don't have to remind ourselves why we love Pucci, do we? And as you probably already know, I'm a bit partial to Pucci myself, and I want to share with you something so adorable that Annabelle said the other day. She couldn't remember Pucci's name, and she said, "Mimi, who's that designer again?" I said, "Which one? Who do you mean?" And she said, "You know, the boy who loved color." I love that, The Boy Who Loved Color. That should be the title of his biography. Well, as you all know by now, I'm going to be spending Christmas with husband, stepkids, dad and stepdad in Palm Springs, and I'll probably drop December's What We're Into after Christmas, but before the end of the year, so that I can include stuff that no doubt I'll be into from Palm Springs. But before that, I have another episode in our series, History in Color, to drop, and even though this is a little late to be saying it, I really want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. I have so much to be thankful for this year, and so much of it has happened because of the Ultimate Fashion History. And you know what? There would be no Ultimate Fashion History if it wasn't for you. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your support, and happy kickoff to the holidays. Bye for now.